Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about loops. But first, you need to know what does a loop mean and when do we use loops. So basically, in all coding languages, loop has the same meaning. It means you run a bunch of codes as many as you want. In another word, we tell the computer that run this block until our condition that we are giving to you is false. Before you get confused, let's jump to the code and see some examples. First, we are going to start with while loop. To create a while loop, we write while and put our condition inside it. For example, if I have a var named myInt is equal to 3 and we tell the while if our myInt variable is bigger than, for example, 0, run this block. So what happens here is while checks our condition if our myInt is still bigger than 0, and if it is still true, it runs our block. For example, if I write print line myInt and run the code, you'll see it keeps printing number 3 because the condition is always true. So we have to create a way to break the line because it's an infinite loop right now. So let's say every time that this block runs, I want to reduce the value of my int by 1. To do that, I'll write my int minus minus, which means every time that this block reaches here, reduce the value of my variable by 1. So let's run the code and see what happens. As you can see, it became 0 and the condition became false. So it breaks the loop. To make it more clear, I want to print the starting point of loop and also the ending point of loop. Well, as you can see, it printed this line because before we start a loop, this line gets printed and we go through the loop, and every time we check if our variable is still bigger than 0, then we reduce the value of it by 1. And whenever it's equal to 0, then the loop breaks and we go out of this while loop and print the ending point of loop. To make it even more clear, I can print the final value of is $sign and print the value of it. So let's run it. As you can see, the value becomes 0 and it goes to the next line. So let's see what's happened here one more time. Whenever we create a while loop, we put a condition inside the parentheses and tell the computer that keep running this block until our condition is false. And in this case, we told the computer do this block until my int value is greater than 0. So it starts with number 3 and it's bigger than 0, so it keeps going, and at the end it reduces the value of my int by 1. So it goes until the value is 0 and breaks the while loop and goes for the next line of the code. So let's see another example. In the last video, we have learned how to use an array. Right now I'm going to create my array, a string array. Hello. The next value is going to be all I'm mass. Okay, so this is my array. I'm going to iterate through this array and check all the values. To create a logic like that, I always start with my loop keyword and write the condition. So we have to create a condition here, right? I'm going to create a counter which is going to be 0. So this my counter variable is going to be my array indexes. For example, it's 0 right now and we can get the hello. And after that, we can increase it by 1 and get the word and so on. So we're telling the while loop that run this block while my counter is smaller than my array dot size. But we have to break this loop. So to do that, I'm going to increase my counter value by 1 after each time we run this block. So right now, let's see what happens here. I'm going to print the value of my counter first, but we have to print it before we increase the value of my counter. So let's run it. As you can see, we got 3 elements here because the size of it is 3, but the indexes start from 0. For example, if you print the size of my array here, like this, you'll see the size of array is 3, but the indexes start from 0. So we want to start from 0 to 1 and to 2. So if we want to print the my array at index of my counter, you'll get all values. But if we create a condition like this, it goes until the fourth value, which our array doesn't have 4 value, and it crashes. So let's check it. As you can see, it crashed. So you have to be very careful with your condition. So let's see what happens here again. We created a while loop and we said that run these blocks until the condition is true. So what is our condition? I said my first value of my counter is going to be 0, and if it is still smaller than our size, which is 3, keep printing my value at index of my counter, which is 0 here. So then it increases the value of it by 1, so it becomes to 1, and it still is smaller than my size, so it keeps doing that until the value reaches to 3, and it breaks the while loop and goes out of this while loop. So let's make another example. We're going to create very simple app. It's an guessing application that you have to guess between 1 to 5, and if you guess the right number, you'll break the while loop. So let's start by creating a val of my answer, which is going to be 3. I'm going to create a boolean variable and call it the condition boolean, and the value is going to be true. So we will check if the condition is still true, keep asking the user. So right now we will make a while and check the condition boolean. If it's still true, so the user haven't guessed it right yet. So we want to ask a number every time. So I'll print a line to please guess your number. And after that, I'll create a val called user answer and get the results by reading line. If you remember, it's a nullable string. So right now, I want to check if the user answer is equal to my answer, then switch the condition to the false, so it breaks our loop and the user wins the game. Okay, I'll check if user answer is equal to my answer. So if it is true and the user answer is right, then set my condition boolean to false and print that you guessed it right. but else you can print for user that it's a wrong guess. But before running the application, you will see an error here. It says operator equal equal cannot be applied to a string nullable, which means we have a string as a user answer, but we are going to compare it with an integer. So it doesn't work. You have to extract the value of the string and convert it to an integer. So it's called casting. I'm not going into the details. I'm going to show you the use case here. So we say to int, and again it has an error because it's a nullable value. So here we can surrender with null check. So it checks user answer if it's null before our whole condition. So let's run it down. So remember the answer is 3. I'm going to write 5 here. It says wrong guess. 2, it's wrong, and 3, you guessed it right, and the process finished. So let's see what's happened here one more time. We created two variables. First one is val because we don't want to change the value of it, and it's our answer. And the second one is var, which is our condition, that we made it var because we have to change the value of it later. So after that, we created a while loop, and we keep running this block until our condition is true, which is our condition boolean. So each time that this block runs, we'll print for user to please guess your number. And we get the value of it from the readline comment and put it inside my user answer. And after that, we check first if it is null or not. If it's not null, let's move to the next line. So the next line is I'll convert the value of my user answer, which is a string, and I will convert it to an integer and check the value. If it is equal to my answer, if this condition is true, then the answer was right. So I'll change the value of condition value to false to break my while loop. So the next time that it's going to check the value of it, it's false and it breaks the while loop. But if it's not true and it's false, it prints the wrong guess. So it keeps going until the user gets the number. So that's it for this video. I hope you practice this topic, which is pretty important topic. So I'll see you on the next video.